Hello ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to our channel. We are here to make your migration dream a possibility by providing you with relevant information, other infotainment and updates all over the world. Like and share our videos. Subscribe to this channel and hit the all-important notification button so that you don't miss out on any of our new videos. And to all our amazing subscribers, we say thank you so much for being there always. In today's video, we will be telling about the latest from the United States as the US President Donald Trump signs another new executive order slapping Mexico, Canada, and China with import tariffs. What items will be impacted and what are the implications? US President Donald Trump slapped sweeping tariffs on goods from Mexico, Canada, and China on Saturday, sending shock waves through the global supply chain and sparking fears of a disruptive trade war that could dramatically raise costs for US consumers. Trump signed executive orders placing duties of 25% on imports from Mexico and Canada, except for a 10% rate on Canadian energy products. He imposed a 10% tax on all imports from China. The White House said the tariffs would go into effect on Tuesday and could be raised if the targeted countries retaliate with tariffs of their own, as they have threatened. The president said he was taxing the three countries because they aren't doing enough to stop the flow of undocumented immigrants and drugs into the United States. Mexican President Claudia Sheinbaum struck back at Trump, detailing what her country has done to fight drug trafficking and slow migration and criticizing the U.S. for its high levels of drug consumption. She said Mexico would retaliate with its own tariffs on American imports, adding, "Problems are not resolved by imposing tariffs, but by talking and engaging in dialogue." The Mexico, Canada, and China are America's top trading partners, supplying the U.S. with food, medicine, oil, cars, timber, and electronics. What items are implicated and what items are the implications of the tariffs? Economists across the political spectrum expect tariffs to increase what consumers pay for a range of goods, including vehicles, electronics, produce, and lumber. Tariffs are paid by companies importing goods into the U.S., similar to a tax. A range of businesses from home builders to alcohol producers warned of the negative economic impact the tariffs would have for businesses and consumers following the tariff announcement. Imposing additional tariffs on these imports will lead to higher material costs, which will ultimately be passed on to home buyers in the form of increased housing prices. Further supply chain disruptions from increased tariffs coupled with increased demand for materials could also hinder rebuilding efforts in areas affected by natural disasters, which have been pledged to help rebuild as quickly as possible. While some businesses will look to source goods elsewhere, others with no alternatives will be forced to pay the fees. That means U.S. grocery stores will shoulder higher costs for fruits and vegetables grown in Mexico, home builders will pay more for Canadian lumber, and automakers will have to pay a tariff each time a component crosses the northern or southern border, which happens repeatedly during the production of a single vehicle. Companies will have to decide whether to pass these higher costs to consumers or absorb them, which would dent profits or require cuts to protect their margins. The implications could be wide-reaching across the U.S. economy, in part because American consumers and businesses imported more goods from Mexico than any other country. Tariffs on all imported goods from Mexico and Canada, especially on ingredients and inputs that aren't available in the U.S., could lead to higher consumer prices in retaliation against U.S. exporters, said the Consumer Brands Association, which represents makers of packaged food and health products. Trump made tariffs central to his campaign pitch for improving an economy that many voters cited as their reason for returning him to the White House. He has argued the levies would protect American industries from unfair competition by making foreign goods pricier and encouraging companies to manufacture in the U.S. He has also proposed using revenue from tariffs to pay for other policy priorities and deploying them as a negotiating tool. But economists have found the tariffs Trump imposed on China during his first term did little to accomplish those goals. Instead, they drove up prices for many imports, led to a net loss of manufacturing jobs and reduced corporate investments. Nearly all the revenue collected from Trump's previous tariffs on China were reported to have gone to payments he sent to American farmers to offset their losses from tariffs China imposed in response. The levies also didn't generate significant concessions from Beijing, which has failed to meet many of its commitments under a trade deal negotiated during Trump's first term. The United Steelworkers International, which has pushed for trade reforms to protect U.S. steel workers, warned that the sweeping tariffs could have a negative impact on workers. These tariffs don't just hurt Canada, they are said to equally threaten the stability of industries on both sides of the border. The president's latest tariffs in Canada and Mexico threatened to upend one of his signature trade pacts, the United States-Mexico-Canada Agreement. Trump had touted the deal as a victory, as it largely allowed products to move between the three countries tariff-free. much as they'd done for decades under the NAFTA agreement that the USMCA replaced. The current trade deal isn't up for review until July 2026, but the new tariffs could throw it into jeopardy much sooner. The White House said Trump would be issuing the tariffs under the International Emergency Economic Powers Act. Despite the USMCA, Trump said he has the legal authority to regulate imports during a national emergency, which he declared at the southern border on the first day of his second term. Trump himself signed the newest version of the trade accord during his first term, praising the 2020 U.S.-Mexico-Canada agreement as the fairest, most balanced and beneficial trade agreement we have ever signed into law. Under the U.S.-Mexico-Canada trade agreement, any country has the right to pull out at any time, and a U.S. president can impose new tariffs without approval from Congress by invoking the International Emergency Economic Powers Act, which authorizes executive action to counter threats to national security, foreign policy, or the economy. Trump had been warning for months that he planned to impose tariffs on imports in a bid to lure manufacturing back to the United States. While most of Trump's tariff threats during his campaign focused on China, he has ratcheted up his focus on Canada and Mexico since he was elected. Both countries vowed to retaliate, which would make American products less competitive within their borders and hurt U.S. businesses that sell there. Cars, oil and gas, electronics, industrial equipment, and agricultural products are among the top U.S. exports to Canada and Mexico. Mexico and Canada order retaliatory tariffs against U.S. Mexico and Canada have ordered retaliatory measures against the U.S. after President Donald Trump placed sweeping tariffs on goods from its two neighbors in China on Saturday. Canada is imposing its own 25% tariffs and $155 billion worth of U.S. goods after U.S. President Donald Trump slapped Canada with 25% tariffs on all goods and 10% tariffs on oil, natural gas, and electricity. Prime Minister Justin Trudeau says the tariffs will take effect on $30 billion worth of goods starting Tuesday, with a further $125 billion worth of products being taxed 21 days later. Trudeau elected to go ahead with retaliatory tariffs, even though Trump's order includes a mechanism to escalate the rates if Canada retaliates against the U.S. The U.S. tariffs are also scheduled to go into effect on Tuesday, setting a showdown in North America that could potentially sabotage economic growth. The tariffs risk an economic standoff with America's two largest trading partners in Mexico and Canada, upending a decades-old trade relationship. The Trump administration says it put the tariffs in place to force China, Mexico, and Canada to stop the spread and manufacturing of fentanyl, in addition to pressuring Canada and Mexico to limit any illegal immigration into the United States. Trudeau previously announced Canada would spend $1.3 billion on a border plan that includes helicopters, new canine teams, and imaging tools to address Trump's calls on border security. Mexican President Claudia Sheinbaum said on Saturday she ordered her economy minister to implement tariff and non-tariff measures to defend her country's interests after the U.S. slapped across-the-board duties on goods coming from Mexico. Sheinbaum stressed her government does not seek confrontation with its northern neighbor but collaboration and dialogue. Trump had said the tariffs against Mexico were due to the country's failure to stop fentanyl getting into the United States, as well as what he describes as uncontrolled migration. And that brings us to the end of today's video regarding the latest from the United States, as the U.S. President Donald Trump signs another new executive order slapping Mexico, Canada, and China with import tariffs. What items will be impacted and what are the implications? If you found this information valuable and you're eager for more most updated information and immigration tips to successfully migrate, then kindly like and share our videos and subscribe to this channel. Then don't forget to hit the notification button to have all our future videos. If you need help, however, with specifics or individualized services in particular, please feel free to contact us by electronic mail and let's create this success story together. Thank you and see you at the next video.